Sister little fairy doctor. Xun'er's jade-like eyes narrowed slightly as she gazed at the determined little fairy doctor. Tears uncontrollably welled up in her eyes. Although detonating the woeful poison body and the poison core might give them a slim chance of survival, if they directly shot towards the venomous snakes below, the destructive force would obliterate both body and soul. Even a Doshin strong practitioner would be powerless in such a situation. Strange. The attack speed of this senior poison god seems a bit slow, and every word he says seems to be targeting Xiao. As little fairy doctor roared, unleashing all her power towards the hidden poison god mysterious crane below, she spoke with a slight opening of her mouth. With her keen senses, she naturally noticed something unusual. Is there a grudge here? Given the power of the poison god, even if he's not at the Doshin level, he should still be in existence close to the peak within the reincarnation cycle. Facing an enemy at the first-tier reincarnation stage should result in a quick kill. Why is he wasting so much time talking to Xiao? Could it be that this guy is trying to provoke or awaken Xiao? Bang! 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 Seeing this, Xun'er's face filled with urgency, and the reincarnation seal on her forehead surged like an ancient rune. Leave it to me. I told you I would take you away. No matter who the opponent is. In an instant, Xun'er's eyes turned red, and her delicate hand was about to tear apart her reincarnation seal, unleashing a massive surge of power. However, a firm voice suddenly echoed beside her. Crack! A sound like crystal shattering rang out, and instantly, the restrictions within Xiao's body were shattered. A dark and malevolent energy, like a volcano at the peak of its fury, erupted from him, flooding the poisonous fog pond. The demonic cube shattered, releasing all the accumulated energy that surged into Xiao's body. The entire poisonous fog pond seemed to crack like glass, and countless waves of evil light coalesced, slowly merging into Xiao's skin and soul. Crack! Dark green blood mist poured out from deep within Xiao's soul. These dark green blood mists were unlike the toxic fog. They were like greedy demons, accompanied by cries of anger and sorrow, spreading throughout the land, shaking the heavens and the earth. Suddenly, with the infusion of immense power, Xiao's clothes tore apart, and dark green demonic blood patterns appeared on his skin like the marks of a devil's craft. Just a glance at them made Xun'er feel an eerie dread. Big brother Xiao. Although Xun'er had long known that Xiao had control over the demonic powers within the Great Thousand Worlds, seeing this scene still made her uneasy. This power is too overwhelming. If Big Brother Xiao loses control, the outcome is unimaginable. Boom, boom, boom. The void trembled, as if it feared the boundless demonic energy within Xiao. Even the massive venomous snakes below, roaring and charging from 1,000 feet away, halted in their tracks, their serpent-like eyes fixated on the demonic Xiao in the sky. Poof! With a single movement, demonic Xiao surged. Countless streams of dark green blood dripped from his body, and wherever they fell, the very air in the poisonous fog pond trembled violently, on the brink of collapsing. Within his dark green eyes, there was no hint of rage clouding his mind. His glazed, crystal-clear gaze showed that Xiao had completely mastered the demonic power. Don't ever do something like this again. With a movement, Xiao instantly appeared beside little fairy doctor, his hand reaching out to stop her. Then, the vast demonic power poured into her, and he spoke softly. At this moment, little fairy doctor, though weakened, felt a warmth in her heart at hearing Xiao's voice. Then, under Xiao's protection, she moved closer to Xun'er. Two masses of dark green light surrounded them, and with the additional power of the Basha body, even a true 5th-tier reincarnation stage expert would be unable to break through this defense. Ha ha ha. Demon. Xiao clan. This is truly unexpected. Suddenly, a mocking laugh echoed in the otherwise quiet void. The vast, ancient power surged from the bottom of the pond, directly infusing into the venomous snake's body. At that moment, mystical green patterns appeared on the venomous snake, as if engraved into its very being, shaking the mind with their profundity. That was the unique power of poison god Mysterious Crane. The the source of Poison God's power. Even a peak reincarnation stage expert would face a deadly threat from it. I never intended to offend, but since you have a grudge with my Xiao clan, let me, as a descendant of the Xiao clan, repay that grudge. I am proud to be a descendant of the Xiao clan for generations to come. Even if I fall in this battle, I will have no regrets. A mighty voice surged, and instantly, behind demonic Xiao, a demonic phantom wrapped in countless dark green energy chains appeared, deeply imprinted on his back. At this moment, if we were to solely assess Xiaoyan's strength, it's likely that even someone at the 5th reincarnation stage would not be a match for him. Power of the Poison God, Holy Venomous Snake. Stinky brat, stay here and be destroyed by me. In the next instant, a crazed voice surged from the bottom of the pool, and countless waves of poisonous mist, along with venomous snakes, rushed toward the demon Xiaoyan. Demon, endless glory. Thunderfire demon. An evil voice rang out as gray-white thunder and glazed flames surged from Xiaoyan's eyes, then merged with the demonic phantom behind him. Boom! As their attacks collided, the entire green poisonous mist pond trembled, and numerous space cracks appeared all at once. The impact of their strikes caused the surrounding space to collapse. The descendants of the Xiao clan, as expected, are as detestable as ever. Although the power left behind by the poison god Mysterious Crane was unable to withstand the full-force strike of the demon Xiaoyan, causing the entire pond to collapse in the final moments before its power was completely devoured, a deep green vortex emerged. Whoosh whoosh. The holy venomous snake was swallowed by the demon Xiaoyan, resolving the crisis. However, Xiaoyan's body suddenly trembled as strange forces began to flow through his limbs and bones. Even the demonic power couldn't fully resist the venomous force of the poison god Mysterious Crane. This venomous power was unpredictable. If it lingered within him, it could lead to a catastrophic disaster. Stinky brat, outside of me, the spirit of my useless poison god cauldron exists. Inside, the venom of the holy venomous snake is eroding you. If you want to break through, follow me. With the last remaining words, the entire poisonous mist pond erupted in a series of crashing and shattering sounds, leaving only the mysterious vortex before them, a path whose destination was unknown. Let's go. The two women, seeing the intense venomous power within the demon Xiaoyan, immediately realized that without the help of the poison god Mysterious Crane, even someone as strong as Xiaoyan would suffer permanent hidden injuries. They exchanged a glance and simultaneously stepped into the vortex, entering another dimension. Plop! As they entered the vortex, in just a few leaps, they instantly arrived at an extremely eerie space. Vast and boundless, countless starry skies stood suspended around them. Before them was an enormous, majestic plaza, and standing there, they felt an overwhelming sense of smallness. This place is the poison god's burial ground, his resting place. Looking at the vast space, Sister Little Fairy Doctor's weak, spiritual body spoke faintly, her gaze and soul releasing an ancient, shared fluctuation. Both being poison bodies, they resonated with an incredibly terrifying harmony. Countless stars hung in the sky, appearing deep and mysterious, as if holding some hidden secrets. On the ancient, vast plaza, however, there were only two things present. One was a coffin, wrapped in layers of dark green crystals, likely the resting place of the poison god Mysterious Crane. The other was a statue in the center of the plaza. Though it was called a statue, it was far from ordinary. It resembled a woman standing gracefully, her figure so lifelike that it was impossible to discern what material it was made from. The figure depicted a woman, dressed in an elegant white gown, with green patterns etched onto the flowing skirt. Her slender waist was surrounded by an almost enchantingly strange purple silk ribbon, and 3,000 strands of her dark hair cascaded from her shoulders, accentuating her irresistible skin, which seemed so delicate it could be broken with a touch. Her face was untouched by makeup, yet it was especially captivating. Her eyes, like water, were full of an indescribable coldness, yet hidden beneath was an overwhelming, dominating aura that radiated outwards. Such a domineering presence could rival even the demon emperor of the monster realm. This absolutely stunning woman, even as a quiet statue, gave Xiao and the others an intense sense of danger. Vroom vroom. Strange. When Xiao arrived in this space, the demonic power within him suddenly quieted down. As his gaze landed on the woman's figure, he even felt a sense of reverence rising in his bloodline, as though he was compelled to bow in worship. This figure was clearly a statue, not a living human. Why, then, did it evoke such a response? Humph. Good Xiao clan descendant, good demonic power. You really are quite imposing. Suddenly, a deep voice emanated from within the tombstone bed in the center of the grave, its cold and displeased tone unmistakable. As the voice echoed, a distinguished-looking middle-aged man appeared out of thin air from within the tomb's coffin. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into an energy phantom, standing tall. Looking at him, the man was surrounded by a thick, viscous green mist. The figure that had just appeared continued to fix its gaze on Xiao, and although there was still a strong sense of hostility in its words, the intent to kill and other such emotions had completely vanished. Poison God Mysterious Crane? As the ethereal figure took shape, Xiao stepped forward again. The overwhelming demonic power surged once more, enveloping the three of them for protection. Something's not quite right. Sister Little Fairy Doctor's beautiful eyes hovered between the figure of the woman and the poison god, as if deep in thought. In an instant, the reincarnation seal on Xun'er's forehead began to glow, influenced by the scene around them. Slowly, it started to burn, and some obscure, ancient memories surged into Xun'er's mind. Senior Poison God, he doesn't have any toxin immunity. Even though he possesses demonic power, if this continues for too long, he'll likely develop some hidden afflictions. Sister Little Fairy Doctor spoke directly, voicing her concerns to confirm the suspicion in her mind. Xun'er turned her gaze and, with some wariness, locked eyes with Sister Little Fairy Doctor, who now spoke as if she had already made a pact with the poison god. What? You should have said something sooner. Boy, calm your mind and focus your spirit. I will help you expel the source of the poison god's power. Upon hearing this, the cold expression on Poison God Mysterious Crane's face vanished in an instant, replaced by a look of alarm. He hurried to Xiao side, and an immense suction force emerged, pulling the source of the poison god's power, previously seeping into Xiao body from the poison-filled pond, out of him. Even with the protection of sacred flame and other forces, this source of the poison god was corrosive. If it stayed inside Xiao for too long, it would inevitably cause all kinds of injuries, big and small. What's going on here? At this moment, even Xiao was somewhat bewildered. Just a moment ago, this figure had been shouting about killing them, but now it was completely different, like night and day. Could there be some hidden truth behind this? I don't know either. However, this senior certainly holds a grudge against the Xiao clan. It's true, but the grudge may not be one of murder. It might actually be a grudge of love. Sister Little Fairy Doctor finished speaking, her beautiful eyes now fixed on a statue at the edge of the tomb. It was clear that, based on the subtle fluctuations of the woeful poison body within her, she had sensed something. Is this the Xiao clan's female war god, Lady Xiaolingshan? Looking at the statue, the reincarnation seal on Xun'er's forehead flickered, and almost instinctively, she spoke up. She is said to be the most powerful female hero within the Xiao clan, once standing at the peak of the Great Thousand Worlds. Her overwhelming strength and exquisite beauty made countless people from all over the Great Thousand Worlds fall madly in love with her, pouring vast amounts of manpower and resources into chasing after her. Many powerful figures tried everything to win a smile from her, but no matter what rare treasures they offered, none could catch her eye. According to the reincarnation seal's information, there seems to be a story where a former poison god, in a fit of rage, used underhanded tactics to try and disgrace her. She retaliated, and he almost perished at her hands. Could it be? Xun'er was shocked, and following the intense heat emanating from the reincarnation seal, she spoke slowly. Just as her words fell, All three of them fixed their vigilant gazes on the energy figure before them. Ahem. The figure from afar, who had been helping Xiao Yin expel the toxins from his body, heard this and turned pale. After a brief bitter smile, he looked at Xiao Yin. To openly expose someone's past mistakes like this made the poison god mysterious crane break into a cold sweat. Senior, what's this about? At this moment, the demonic power and toxin power within Xiao Yin both dissipated, but Xiao Yin felt helpless in his heart. So, this was all the poison god's own fault, and after all these years, he still bore a grudge and took it out on Xiao Yin? This old guy, he's just relying on his age to act superior. That 9 mystical flames master. Poison god mysterious crane stood up, turned his back, and assumed an aloof demeanor. Sister Little Fairy Doctor and Xun'er exchanged glances, both frowning. They unconsciously moved back, distancing themselves from him. Using underhanded methods was truly disgraceful, and considering that mysterious crane was a third-generation poison god, how could a grand figure like him act in such a shameful manner? It was really an insult to his dignity. What lowly methods! She promised me back then that as long as I completed that task, she would entrust her life to me. But after I risked my life to complete it, she went back on her word, and in the end, I was forced into a corner and, out of shame and anger, did something regrettable. But in the end, it was still her fault. Poison god mysterious crane spoke directly, not giving Xun'er a chance to continue. Lady Xiao Lingshan, the female war god. A few new words surfaced in Xiao Yan's mind, and a wave of intense shock struck his heart. It seemed that as his strength grew, more and more top-tier figures from the Xiao clan were gradually being revealed to him. Enough. With a wave of his hand, poison god mysterious crane quickly cut off the topic, his face turning dismissive as he rolled his eyes. Girl. After a long while, poison god mysterious crane looked at Sister Little Fairy Doctor in front of him, his voice slightly heated as he spoke. This girl has begun to show the signs of poison cultivation within her body, and the poison core and woeful poison body have already been triggered. Now, only her frail soul body remains. This is the best time to break her down and rebuild her. Since the misunderstanding has been resolved, we should leave now. Sister Little Fairy Doctor gritted her teeth and directly refused. Although poison god mysterious crane's poison skills were impressive, and his strength was likely one of the top 3 in the poison god realm, his deeds made her feel that he was not exactly a good person. Moreover, because of Xiao Yin, Sister Little Fairy Doctor firmly rejected him. If she gained power and later used it to harm Xiao Yin, she would rather not have such strength and status. Thank you, Senior. After they spoke, the 3 of them bowed toward the figure in front of them and then began to leave. Wong. Seeing this, poison god mysterious crane shook his head slightly, not attempting to persuade them. He casually waved his hand, and ripples of green light suddenly spread across the ancient square. The space warped, and an extremely powerful poison force began to fill the air. The passage that appeared was entirely green, as if it contained a terrifying poison force that could seep into one's bones. As soon as it appeared, it caused a ripple of energy. Sigh. At this moment, poison god mysterious crane looked like a child who had done something wrong, helplessly collapsing onto the square. Then, he muttered to the statue of Xiao Lingshan in front of him, "People from the Xiao clan truly are unreasonable. Now, even a prime candidate with the poison god body has been fooled away." Although he spoke these words, poison god mysterious crane's eyes still carried a refined and gentle air. Looking at the statue in front of him, he did not seem like someone who would use underhanded methods. On the path back, Sister Little Fairy Doctor seemed a little distracted. She had rejected poison god mysterious crane mainly because of Xiao Yin, but with her poison core and woeful poison body exploding, her future achievements would likely be limited to the Docian stage. Thinking of this, her once lively character turned silent. Sister Little Fairy Doctor. Xun'er, being incredibly thoughtful, gently tugged at Sister Little Fairy Doctor's hand, then looked at Xiao Yin. Let's go back, that's what you deserve. As for the Xiao clan's matters, I'll handle them. Thank you. With those words, the three of them began their return journey. The Xiao clan. A despicable clan. You clearly promised me that as long as I killed the foreign evil god Lu Hui Shuang Miao, you would entrust yourself to me. Why are you avoiding the truth and unwilling to admit it now? Why is this happening? If I were not just a remnant thought, I would definitely find the Xiao clan and question you thoroughly. Just what kind of unreasonable people are you? A series of resentful voices echoed from the poison god tomb, and the uncontrollable poison mist poured out, enveloping the entire space with an eerie, grayish tint. Senior. A minute later, the ancient passage began to move again. Xiao Yin and the others slowly emerged. Sister Little Fairy Doctor's ethereal soul body took one step after another towards poison god Mysterious Crane. Oh? Ling Shan, did you hear my lament? At this moment, a wild joy spread across poison god Mysterious Crane's gentle face. Still calling me senior? In an instant, poison god Mysterious Crane floated over, appearing beside Sister Little Fairy Doctor. A swirl of green poison mist surrounded her soul body, seemingly nourishing and repairing her in a special way. Since ancient times, unrequited love has often bred resentment. Xiao Yin and Xun'er held hands, watching poison god Mysterious Crane with helpless expressions. As for the ancient matters, they knew very little, so relying solely on the reincarnation seal of Master of the Nine Mystical Flames wasn't enough to judge whether he was good or bad. Whoosh whoosh. Several minutes later, Sister Little Fairy Doctor's body once again took shape, exactly as before. Even the power of the poison god soul had repaired her, making her appear even more delicate and alluring. Let's begin. After doing all this, poison god Mysterious Crane's voice grew excited. He rose into the air, his hands forming mysterious seals. Thump. With a sound, the ancient square that had been desolate for countless years suddenly twisted. Then, an endless, deep black hole emerged from the side of a tomb. The pressure emanating from it caused everyone to tremble and kneel in reverence. Inside the boundless black hole, there was a green jade cauldron about a meter tall. Ancient ripples emanated from its body and corners, identical to the poison god cauldron they had seen earlier on the venomous snake elder. More strangely, in the center of the green cauldron was a greenish-blue bead, beating slowly like a heart. With each beat, it carried immense power, as if the life and death of everyone, as well as the fate of this world, lay in its single thought. The legendary poison god item, Holy Venomous Pill? Sister Little Fairy Doctor's body trembled as she looked at the green bead in the cauldron, astonished. The Holy Venomous Pill. It's the token of the poison god, the symbol of power in the poison god palace. At this moment, Xun'er spoke from the heart, her voice filled with immense relief. This is the Holy Venomous Pill, the source of my power, and currently the strongest poison core in the great thousand worlds. There is no rival. Back in the day, my strength had not yet reached the peak of reincarnation, but with the fully formed Holy Venomous Pill, I was able to directly eliminate one of the 5 great evil gods' leaders from beyond the domain. Its contribution cannot be overstated. Now, I am but a remnant of my former self. I do not wish for its great renown to be lost here. Poison god Mysterious Crane's spirit was lively, and when he mentioned the Holy Venomous Pill, an air of dominance, as if looking down on the world, arose from him. Senior, have you fallen? At this moment, Xiao Yin was slightly surprised and quickly inquired. Fallen? Once a being reaches the reincarnation stage, unless they are annihilated by a divine artifact or a divine art stage do technique, most fall severely injured and enter reincarnation, awaiting the long passage of time to recover and revive. The appearance of the reincarnation seal allows us powerful beings to release our power and find suitable heirs. Once the reincarnator fully masters the reincarnation seal, we can awaken ahead of time. Girl, do you wish to inherit my reincarnation? The voice of poison god Mysterious Crane echoed softly, his gaze fixed on Sister Little Fairy Doctor. Such matters were of utmost importance and could not be taken lightly, for a poison god body like this one was a once-in-a-millennium rarity. Xiao Yin and Xun'er nodded slightly, casting a glance of approval at her. I am willing, Sister Little Fairy Doctor said with a long sigh of relief, her eyes filled with toxic mists that seemed to corrode everything in their path. Ha ha ha. Xiao Lingshan, next time we meet, I will settle all the new and old grudges from countless years ago. A vast voice surged forth, and in the gaze of everyone, the last trace of poison god Mysterious Crane's remnant spirit transformed into a greenish light imprint, slowly marking Sister Little Fairy Doctor's forehead. With the reincarnation of the third-generation poison god Mysterious Crane and the holy venomous pill, it wouldn't be long before this girl became one of the greatest powers standing at the peak of the great thousand worlds. Whoosh whoosh. In the entire Poison God Tomb Plaza, the green reincarnation seal on Sister Little Fairy Doctor's forehead began to pulse, sending ripples of green energy throughout the space. The energy continuously nourished and strengthened her body and soul. The reincarnation of Poison God Mysterious Crane was enigmatic and profound. Whether in the short or long term, it was an immensely beneficial force for Sister Little Fairy Doctor. Xiao Yingij, it seems your Xiao clan. At this moment, Xun'er placed her small hands behind her back, wearing an expression of mock reproach, her tone full of playful teasing. The female war god Xiao Lingshan and the old affair of poison god Mysterious Crane. There must be some misunderstanding there. Ahem. Xiao Yin coughed awkwardly. Even though the Xiao clan had perished, the numerous debts and grudges left behind before its fall still made Xiao Yin, as its descendant, feel a sense of pressure. However, there was no denying that poison god Mysterious Crane had forced him into breaking through to the peak of the first-tier reincarnation stage. Not long after, when the reincarnation tribulation came again, breaking through to the second-tier stage would only be a matter of time. This incident could be considered a blessing in disguise, though whether poison god Mysterious Crane did it intentionally or it was an unintentional mistake, Xiao Yin wasn't sure. Poison god cauldron, holy venomous pill. The eerie green light was exceptionally bright, emanating a suffocating death energy, as if even the slightest contact would result in immediate death. The poison god cauldron and the holy venomous pill both hovered above the coffin in the plaza, appearing extremely ancient and weathered. After about 10 minutes, when Sister Little Fairy Doctor opened her eyes again, her entire aura had become exceptionally eerie and powerful. Xun'er has already given me the method to deal with the spirit of the poison god cauldron. Once I devour the poison core, we will go out and resolve it. Sister Little Fairy Doctor spoke as soon as her eyes opened. Then, as if mysteriously stepping on the void of the plaza, her figure drifted toward the poison god cauldron. The power of that poison liquid is terrifying. At this moment, Xun'er couldn't help but express her concerns, feeling the overwhelming, world-destroying poison energy near the poison god cauldron. Basya shell. Seeing Sister Little Fairy Doctor preparing to devour the poison core, Xiao Yin was still not at ease and summoned Basya's shell to surround her. Let's begin. Noticing Sister Little Fairy Doctor's gaze directed towards him, Xiao Yin lightly spoke. Whoosh whoosh. Sister Little Fairy Doctor nodded seriously, then sat down cross-legged. The reincarnation seal on her forehead shimmered with ancient fluctuations. Her slender and graceful form was surrounded by a mist of greenish energy, creating a mysteriously enchanting aura. Boom boom. Sister Little Fairy Doctor's jade-like hand moved, and under the wrapping influence of countless reincarnation seal energies, she gently reached towards the greenish bead inside the cauldron. Even Xiao Yin and Xun'er, who were standing firmly on the ground, felt an intense sense of unease. The power of the holy venomous pill was undoubtedly countless times stronger than the poison core that Sister Little Fairy Doctor had previously devoured and absorbed. SSSS? Sister Little Fairy Doctor lightly bit her lips. Despite the help from the reincarnation seal, her own strength was simply too weak. After taking a breath, she was sent flying backward like a withered flower or a broken willow branch. Damn! Sister Little Fairy Doctor's delicate body trembled, a stream of bright red blood dripping from the corner of her lips, and the reincarnation seal on her forehead released an intense heat. No, the holy venomous pill is too much of a threat for you right now. If you try to swallow it recklessly, you won't succeed. Xiao Yin quickly helped Sister Little Fairy Doctor to her feet and then glanced rapidly at the poison god cauldron, as if contemplating something. Later, we'll use the power of the sacred flame to temporarily isolate the power within the holy venomous pill. That should make things much easier. He gritted his teeth slightly, realizing that this was the only solution for now. No. You have no poison resistance. Even with my poison body, I cannot handle the power of the holy venomous pill. If you act rashly, the outcome will probably... Sister Little Fairy Doctor's face hardened as she directly rejected their plan. Only she truly understood the horror of the holy venomous pill, so she would never let Xiao Yin or Xun'er put themselves at risk. Xun'er, act now. 5 Flames Technique. A vast voice suddenly surged from within the plaza, and a figure, bathed in 5 different colored flames, shot forward with incredible speed toward the poison god cauldron. Golden Crow Radiance. Xun'er also shouted, her golden flame burning so intensely it seemed capable of incinerating even the void itself. Whoosh! 6 different flames intertwined, and under Xiao Yan's exquisite control, they formed a rope that wrapped around the holy venomous pill. However, even the combined power of 6 sacred flames couldn't hold the pill for long. A faint white mist kept emerging, corroding the flames, indicating that the restraints wouldn't last much longer. Sister Little Fairy Doctor, quickly. At that moment, Xiao Yan's voice thundered as he roared. Such an opportunity was fleeting. Slightly turning her head to look at Xiao Yan's solemn expression, Sister Little Fairy Doctor clenched her teeth and once again enveloped herself in a thin layer of poison mist. She then extended her long, slender hand toward the pill. SSSS. Sister Little Fairy Doctor held her breath, the reincarnation seal activated, and she seemed to have transformed into someone else. Her fingers curved as they reached for the holy venomous pill. A deadly, greenish poison mist swirled around her fingertips, breaking through the pill's defenses in an instant, coming into close contact with its core. Boom! The poison pill stirred, seemingly provoked by the reincarnation seal's power. It shot out of the cauldron like a wild stallion, hurtling straight towards Sister Little Fairy Doctor. Whoosh! A sharp, ear-piercing sound rang out as the pill landed on her smooth palm. Circles of green poison mist erupted from her hand, resembling a bottomless pit. 6 flames. Just as Sister Little Fairy Doctor felt her vitality being completely devoured by the poison pill, a powerful surge of sacred flame engulfed her, confronting the poison's assault. Hurry now! Xiao Yan's expression darkened. The sacred flame couldn't protect against the power of the poison pill. Even though it helped Sister Little Fairy Doctor resist the pill's corruption, the pain Xiao Yan was enduring was no less than hers. Poison pill technique. All things drawn in. Gather. An ancient Sanskrit chant slowly emerged from Sister Little Fairy Doctor's lips, transforming into circles of ancient symbols that rushed toward the pill to suppress it. In the next moment, the destructive power surrounding the pill seemed to be temporarily sealed, and its glow dimmed. Thud. With her lips parting, Sister Little Fairy Doctor immediately swallowed the pill before it could react. As she consumed the holy venomous pill, a terrifying greenish poison mist began to surge outward from her, emanating from her body like a wave. The entire plaza was once again filled with a sense of destruction. Gurgle. Just as the area seemed about to completely shatter, the poison god cauldron beneath them glowed brightly. A powerful suction force emerged, pulling in all the poison mist, leaving the cauldron in its mysterious stillness. Boom! Suddenly, within the entire poison god tomb, Sister Little Fairy Doctor floated in midair, her body releasing endless streams of green poison mist. But no matter how forcefully the holy venomous pill tried to erupt, the terrifying poison mist was continuously absorbed by the poison god cauldron below. As time passed, the fluctuations of the poison mist grew weaker and weaker, and the space gradually returned to silence. Sister Little Fairy Doctor's eyes, slightly open, looked like those of a living corpse. The emerald green eyes had no special features at first glance, but upon focusing, they evoked a deep, instinctive sense of fear that made one's very soul tremble. The power of the holy venomous pill would likely corrode both soul and mental strength cleanly, leaving nothing behind when activated. It should be fine now. After a long while, confirming once more that Sister Little Fairy Doctor had begun to fuse the poison core with the power of the reincarnation seal, Xiao finally let out a long sigh of relief. At this moment, the poison core within Sister Little Fairy Doctor's body was releasing a dazzling poisonous mist, surging like a heartbeat. Strong, overwhelming poisonous fog continuously poured out, nourishing and strengthening her delicate body. It worked. Xun'er's smile was brighter than anyone else's. Not only did it resolve the lingering concerns in Xiao heart, but she was also genuinely happy for Sister Little Fairy Doctor. Since it's successful, then the poison god cauldron naturally shouldn't be wasted. Xiao chuckled, but with his keen sense of smell, he could easily tell that after swallowing the poison core, the aura within Sister Little Fairy Doctor was now on par with that of a 4- or 5-star Docian. To achieve such an increase so quickly was truly terrifying. The poison god cauldron can't be moved for now. Sister Little Fairy Doctor rose. A faint emerald green halo shimmered around her. Within that halo was a sinister, deathly energy. Why is that? Xiao asked, somewhat confused. Though the poison god cauldron was extremely valuable, leaving it here could pose a major threat in the future. The poison god cauldron is an incredibly powerful divine artifact. To control it with one's own strength, certain specific trials must be passed first. Currently, I lack the strength to fully control it. Moreover, due to its special nature, this artifact can only be controlled by those who cultivate poison arts. Only then can one undergo the trial. If someone who hasn't trained in poison arts tries to force the trial, the poison god cauldron will drain their entire life force to feed itself. Sister Little Fairy Doctor shook her head, explaining the risks involved. Thanks to the reincarnation seal and her mastery over the poison core, she knew exactly what she was dealing with. If it can't be controlled yet, then it's not safe to leave it here. With the poison god palace's foundation, if they discover it, a bloody storm is sure to follow. Xiao spoke solemnly. The appeal of a divine artifact, especially among those in the reincarnation stage, was second only to divine stage Do techniques. Its value was self-evident. If they couldn't possess it, they'd have to come up with a foolproof plan to seal it away to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Though I can't control it, taking it with us isn't difficult. Of course, before taking it, there's still one thing to do. Sister Little Fairy Doctor spoke, and suddenly, the emerald green deathly energy around her surged. She gazed into the endless void, and her meaning was clear. The spirit of the poison god cauldron? Xun'er, sensing something from Sister Little Fairy Doctor's demeanor, spoke up. The spirit of the poison god cauldron is too powerful. Even if I were to demonize myself, I don't have absolute confidence in defeating it. At this moment, Xiao expression grew serious. The power of the poison god cauldron spirit has reached the true 5th-tier reincarnation stage. If we were to face it in a direct fight, we'd have no chance. But after all, it's just a cauldron spirit. Senior poison god Mysterious Crane was prepared for this. This is the poison godchild. As long as he comes into contact with the cauldron spirit's true body, all its pride will naturally crumble without a fight. As she spoke, a jade-like hand from Sister Little Fairy Doctor released an emerald green seed, from which a dense, endless, sinister, poisonous aura flowed. This is the poison god's power. It can block most of the cauldron spirit's venomous attacks. With it, as long as we don't directly face the spirit's strongest attacks, we should be safe. Once again, circles of emerald green energy spiraled around Xiao and the others, forming a seemingly transparent energy membrane over their skin. Items specifically designed to counter the cauldron spirit poured out from Sister Little Fairy Doctor's body and were distributed to everyone. Without any hesitation, the three of them leaped through the void, heading back the way they came. This time, even if the cauldron spirit sprouted wings, it wouldn't escape. Elsewhere, the battle had clearly reached its conclusion. In the courtyard, surrounded by a protective barrier, a wooden house stood. Inside, The cauldron spirit occupying the body of poison god Mysterious Crane sat on a seat, its cold eyes scanning the two individuals bound on the ground. Damn it! The five-legged golden crow and poison soul child exchanged a glance, then muttered coldly. After Xiao Yin and the others had left, the two were quickly defeated by the cauldron spirit. Oddly, after defeating them, the spirit didn't kill them immediately. Instead, it imprisoned them, their mouths continuously spewing curses, describing how sinister and treacherous poison god Mysterious Crane was. Ha ha ha. The spirit of a divine artifact? The experts of the Poison God Palace? They're nothing more than this. The voice was extremely flat, yet it caused the cold and murderous intent in the entire space to surge violently. In an instant, Poison God Mysterious Crane's body rose, and it let out a furious roar at the two figures before it. Looking at the two bodies, which were covered in wounds and even had streaks of bright red blood appearing, its smile turned particularly sinister. Whoosh whoosh. As the sound faded, a powerful and murderous toxic mist erupted from the ground beneath its feet, resembling a volcano erupting. In an instant, it easily enveloped the entire space of the wooden house. Damn it, such a strong source of venom. At this moment, the overwhelming feeling of suffocation made Poison Soul Child realize what true fear was for the first time. Die! Countless sources of venom surged toward the two figures, distorting the surrounding space as they passed. Cracking sounds echoed as the air itself seemed to tear apart. Boom, boom, boom. At this critical moment, however, the space within the wooden house began to tremble slightly. A jade-green light suddenly erupted and shot toward the two five-legged golden crows. Crack! With a sound, the attack from the cauldron spirit hit what seemed like a stubborn rock, only to be smashed apart by the jade-green light. Wah! Who's there? Show yourself. At that moment, a strong sense of unease began to swirl in the cauldron spirit's heart. Its eyes stared fiercely at the space within the wooden house, which twisted and shifted as if a hidden, roaring aura was approaching. That aura seemed familiar, but it was several times stronger than before. More importantly, from the jade-green light, the spirit of the poison god cauldron distinctly sensed a trace of true fear. That was